A cold wind sweeps through Detroit, Michigan as Elias Moore, 23 years old, climbs the courthouse steps with a stack of legal documents pressed tightly to his chest. His suit is borrowed, a little too big in the shoulders and too short at the wrists, but it's the best he owns. He straightens the collar anyway. He wants to look like someone the system should take seriously, someone who belongs inside this building. Elias has spent the last 3 months fighting a battle that would make most people buckle. His older brother Marcus, a man who always stood up for him growing up, was arrested for an assault he didn't start. A bar fight turned into a nightmare when police arrived, and Marcus, the only black man in the scene, was the one handcuffed. The family scraped together what they could for a lawyer, but the public defender barely skimmed the file. "Take the plea," he told Marcus. "It's your best option." Elias refused to accept that. He moved his work schedule at the grocery store to nights and spent every spare hour buried in textbooks, legal blogs, case law databases. He studied in the public library until closing time, the fluorescent lights above flickering like they were tired of watching him struggle. Every page he read felt like a step toward justice. Every note he took was a promise he made to Marcus. Every new legal term he learned was a weapon. This morning, he called his mom before leaving. Her voice trembled through the phone. "Baby, I know it's hard, but I trust you. You're the smartest man I know." He carries those words like armor. Now he stands in the courthouse lobby. Marble floors, metal detectors, security guards scanning him with bored eyes. People in expensive suits rush by, never looking down long enough to notice a young black man holding the weight of someone else's freedom in his hands. Elias takes a calming breath. His palms are sweating. His heart is pounding. But his purpose is stronger. He steps into courtroom 4B. Marcus is already seated at the defendant's table, wrists in cuffs, trying to hide the fear behind a forced grin. "You sure about this, little bro?" Marcus whispers. Elias nods firmly. "Absolutely. I'm not letting them bury you for something you didn't do." Marcus leans back, trust shining in his tired eyes. Elias sets the legal papers down, his hands still shaking slightly. Not from doubt, but from the magnitude of what he is about to do. He is not trained. He is not licensed. He is not respected here. But he is ready. When the door behind the judge's bench opens and the court rises to attention, Elias squares his shoulders, eyes focused straight ahead. Because today is the first day the system learns his name. Not as a defendant. Not as a statistic. Not as a kid who doesn't belong here. As the man who's going to win. Judge Henderson enters the courtroom with the slow, self-important walk of a man who has never had to doubt his authority. His black robe flows behind him like a warning. His eyes sweep the room, settling on Elias, with a look that says, "This will be amusing." "All rise," the bailiff calls. Everyone stands. The judge sits. "You may be seated." Papers shuffle. Chairs scrape. The trial begins. The prosecutor, a trim white man with confidence spilling out of his perfectly tailored suit, approaches the bench with a smirk aimed directly at Elias. He's already written Elias off, already imagined the celebration dinner he'll have after putting another man behind bars. Judge Henderson adjusts his glasses. "Mr. Moore," he says, gaunt face stiff with condescension. "I understand you are choosing to represent your brother, yourself?" "Yes, Your Honor," Elias replies, voice steady even though his pulse is pounding. The judge leans back, clearly entertained. "You have no legal background, no training. You do realize this is a felony trial, correct?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And you believe you are qualified to debate law with experienced counsel?" Elias doesn't blink. "I believe the facts are on our side." Soft laughter ripples from the prosecution's table. Henderson raises his eyebrows and gives a slow, mocking smile. "Well then, we're all in for a show. But let me be perfectly clear. When you fail, and you will, I expect you to accept a public defender without wasting this court's time. Understood?" Elias feels heat rising in his chest, pride stinging like an open wound. But he refuses to let anger control his voice. "Understood, Your Honor," he says calmly. "But I'm not here to waste time. I'm here for the truth." Judge Henderson waves a dismissive hand. "Yes, yes." Very inspiring. A few snickers break out behind Elias. They think he's punching above his weight. They think he'll fold. They think he's a fool for even trying. Marcus leans closer and whispers, "Ignore him. Just do you." Elias gives the smallest nod. He knows exactly what's happening. He has seen people underestimate him his whole life. He is done shrinking to fit their expectations. Judge Henderson slams the gavel lightly. Now let the proceedings begin. As testimony starts and legal arguments unfold, Elias listens like a hawk. Every word, every hesitation, every contradiction, he catches all of it. If they want a show, he'll give them one they'll never forget. Because while they laugh at the amateur at the defense table, they have no idea he came prepared to win. When trial testimony begins, the prosecutor calls their key witness, a white man named Kyle Barrett, dressed neatly, sitting tall like he's certain the system is on his side. He points at Marcus without hesitation. "He hit me first," Kyle says confidently. "I was just trying to leave the bar, and he attacked me out of nowhere." Murmurs fill the courtroom. The narrative is clear. Kyle is the innocent victim. Marcus is the violent aggressor. Elias watches carefully. He sees the arrogance in Kyle's posture, the rehearsed rhythm of his answers, the way his eyes refuse to meet Marcus's. When it's Elias's turn to cross-examine, he rises slowly, sliding a single sheet of paper to the edge of the table. People lean in. The prosecutor smirks, expecting a clumsy performance. Elias approaches the witness stand with the quiet intensity of someone who knows more than he is letting on. "Mr. Barrett," he begins, voice smooth, "you claimed there were no cameras in the alley where the fight took place?" Kyle nods quickly. "That's right, it was dark. No way anyone saw anything." Elias tilts his head. "That's interesting. Because earlier, you said you were trying to leave the bar when my brother attacked you." Kyle hesitates. "Yes, that's what happened." The judge watches closely now. Elias takes a single step forward. "So are we talking about the alley behind the bar? Or the front entrance where everyone comes and goes?" Kyle blinks. The front?" "The front," Elias repeats louder. "Where the security camera hangs above the door?" The jury shifts. The prosecutor stops smirking. Kyle swallows, his confident mask cracking. "I didn't see any camera." Elias keeps his gaze steady. "But it's there, isn't it?" Silence. Kyle's breath catches. "Yes," he finally mutters. Elias turns to the judge. "Your Honor, I request that this court subpoena the bar's security footage." The request hits the courtroom like a dropped bomb. Even Judge Henderson freezes for a moment, his expression shifting from amusement to reluctant interest. No one expected the young man representing himself to know how to leverage evidence. The judge clears his throat. "Request granted." The prosecutor stiffens. Kyle slouches in his seat. Elias returns calmly to the defense table and sits beside Marcus, who stares at his brother like he's seeing a version of him he never realized existed. Elias's heart beats fast, but his face remains composed. He has just carved the first crack into the prosecution's case, and for the first time since this trial began, everyone in that courtroom understands one thing. Elias Moore is not here to survive the system. He's here to beat it. 2 days later, the courtroom is packed. The bar has delivered the subpoenaed footage, and all eyes are on the screen as the video begins. Grainy at first, then suddenly clear. The front entrance of the bar, neon lights flickering. Kyle Barrett appears on camera first, stumbling forward and shoving Marcus hard in the chest. Marcus steps back, hands up, saying something inaudible. Then, 3 of Kyle's friends close in, surrounding Marcus like a pack. Only then does Marcus swing back, a punch thrown out of fear, not aggression. Gasps ripple through the room. Kyle looks pale. The prosecutor's confidence evaporates. Judge Henderson leans forward in his chair, eyes narrowed, the screen reflecting in his glasses. "This clearly contradicts the witness testimony," he states flatly. The prosecutor tries to recover. "Your Honor, the footage doesn't show the entire context." Elias rises instantly. "Objection. The footage shows the context the witness lied about." "Sustained," the judge says without hesitation. It's the first time he sounds like he respects Elias's voice. Next, the prosecutor calls a second witness, hoping to salvage the case. A bartender claims Marcus was acting aggressive inside. Elias stands again. "Sir, how many customers did you serve that night?" A lot, the bartender admits. Do you keep track of which customers are overserved? Sometimes. Did you check Marcus's ID? I don't remember. Did you personally see him start any fight? No, but no further questions. The witness deflates. Elias returns to his seat, calm as steel. One by one, every accusation falls apart under his logic. Every weak argument gets crushed. Every biased assumption is exposed. The prosecutor grows visibly frustrated, stumbling over objections he once wielded like weapons. Judge Henderson no longer smirks. He watches Elias with unexpected attentiveness, seeing a man who is defending his brother with the skill of someone destined for the legal world. By midday, the jury doesn't just look convinced, they look impressed. Marcus leans over and whispers, voice full of awe, "How do you know all this?" Elias keeps his eyes forward, his voice quiet but firm, because no one else cared enough to learn. Finally, as the judge calls for a recess, the courtroom stays silent for a moment longer than usual. The shift in power is undeniable. The kid they mocked, the amateur, is winning. Not by luck, not by emotion, but by intelligence, preparation, and unshakable belief in his brother's innocence. As Elias gathers his papers, the prosecutor stares at him with something new in his eyes. Fear, because he knows what everyone now knows. This young man is not done yet, not even close. When the recess ends, the courtroom atmosphere is entirely different. People lean forward in their seats instead of slouching. The prosecution avoids eye contact. The jury watches Elias now, not Marcus. The judge enters with less arrogance in his stride, as if the robe on his shoulders has suddenly grown heavier. Everyone rises, everyone sits. But Elias feels the power shift deep in his bones. The prosecutor attempts a weak pivot, calling a police officer who wrote the arrest report. The officer tries to defend the original decision, claiming Marcus was acting aggressively. Elias stands again, calm but firm. "Officer, how long did you observe the scene before making the arrest?" The officer hesitates. "A few seconds." "So you did not see how the fight began?" "No, but..." "And you did not review any footage before filing your report?" "I wasn't aware there was footage." "Yet you arrested only the man defending himself, not the men attacking him?" The officer's face tightens, sweat forms at his hairline. "Objection," the prosecutor interrupts, voice cracking. "Argumentative." Judge Henderson doesn't even look at him. "Overruled. Answer the question." The officer's shoulders sag. "Yes," he admits quietly. A whisper spreads through the courtroom. Realization, anger, recognition of bias. Elias turns back to the defense table, but Henderson stops him. "Mr. Moore, approach the bench." Elias walks up, expecting criticism. Instead, Henderson speaks low enough that only they can hear. His voice is different. No sarcasm, no jokes. "You are doing exceptionally well." Elias's eyes widen slightly. Compliment? From him? The judge clears his throat. "Like, if you want, I can appoint a licensed attorney to continue from here, considering how serious this case has become." Elias doesn't break eye contact. His reply is simple, confident, earned. "With respect, Your Honor. I was serious from the start." Henderson studies him for a long moment, then nods once. A nod that means, "You're right." A nod that means, "I misjudged you." A nod that means, "I respect you." When Elias returns to his seat, Marcus asks quietly, "What did he say?" Elias only replies, "We're winning." For the first time, Marcus lets himself believe it. As proceedings continue, Henderson sustains every fair objection Elias makes. He listens when Elias speaks. He watches Elias like a colleague instead of a nuisance. The courtroom dynamic has transformed. The once dismissive judge now sees something undeniable. This young man belongs here. In law, in justice, in power. When the gavel falls to end the day's session, Henderson doesn't smirk. He doesn't sigh dramatically. He simply says, "Court will resume tomorrow. Mr. Moore, I look forward to your closing arguments." Elias gathers his documents slowly, letting the victory settle in. He glances up at the judge. And for a brief second, Henderson gives him something he never expected. A look of respect. No applause, no spotlight, just truth. Finally acknowledged. Elias leaves the courtroom, not as a kid pretending to be a lawyer, but as the man who made the judge believe in him. And tomorrow he plans to finish what he started. The next morning, the courtroom is so full that people stand along the walls. Word has spread. A young man with no degree, no lawyer badge, and no permission from the world is beating the system at its own game. Elias sits beside Marcus, flipping through his notes. Not because he needs them, but because it reminds him how far he's come. Marcus places a hand over his brother's. Whatever happens, I'm proud of you. Elias nods, swallowing the emotion building in his chest. When the judge enters, everyone rises. Henderson doesn't look at Elias with doubt anymore. He looks at him like a colleague. The prosecution gives their closing argument first. Short, shaky, built on pieces of a case Elias already dismantled. When they finish, Henderson turns to Elias. Mr. Moore? Elias stands. His legs feel steady. His voice, when he begins, feels like truth rising straight out of his heart. My brother didn't throw the first punch, he says. He didn't have a choice but to defend himself. And this court has seen that the supposed victim lied under oath to bury him. He walks slowly before the jury box, meeting every pair of eyes. Some people think you need money or status, or a fancy lawyer to prove you're innocent. But justice is supposed to belong to everyone. My brother isn't asking for a favor. He's asking for the truth to matter. The room is silent, the powerful kind of silence, where every word lands like weight. Elias stops at Marcus's side and sets his hand on his brother's shoulder. I believe in him, and I believe you do too. He sits. Minutes later, the jury files back in. The foreman stands. The world holds its breath. In the case of the state versus Marcus Moore, we find the defendant not guilty on all charges. Marcus covers his face as tears rush forward. Elias grabs him in a tight embrace, and the courtroom erupts in gasps, soft cheers, and relieved exhalations. Even Judge Henderson allows himself the smallest smile. Mr. Moore, he says once the room settles, you conducted yourself with the skill of a seasoned attorney. If you ever pursue a law degree, this court would be lucky to have you practice within it. Elias stands straighter than ever. Thank you, Your Honor. The cuffs come off Marcus's wrists, and he looks at his brother as if seeing a hero he always hoped existed. You saved my life, he says, voice cracking. Elias shakes his head and hugs him again. No, he whispers. I just made sure the truth did. They walk out of the courthouse together, free, whole, undefeated, the sun blazing down like a spotlight built just for them. Elias holds the door for his brother, a smile stretching across his face. He proved every doubt wrong. He proved every prejudice powerless. He proved himself unstoppable. As they step into the light, one thing becomes certain. This will not be the last courtroom Elias Moore stands in. It will be the first. Because he didn't just win a case, he discovered his calling, his voice, his future. He entered that courtroom as a nobody they laughed at. He leaves as a man the system will never laugh at again. Justice heard him, and it will hear him many more times to come.